So coalitions are in the air once again, at least to those of us who actually care about changing things in this country, despite the fact that Britain's government recently formed one, proving once and for all that Emperor Harper was wrong about it being a bloodless coup. The Tories insist that the Liberals and NDP are not allowed to form one themselves. I'll get to that in a minute. Furthermore, Michael Ignatieff and Jack Layton scoff at the idea of merging their parties, despite the fact that both of them are doing very badly in every opinion poll, particularly Iggy, who refuses to do a damn thing to actually oppose Harper. It's clear as a bell that Canada needs a drastic change to save its skin, yet too many people are fine with just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Now let's get to the first problem here, which I mentioned earlier. According to Emperor Harper, so-called losers, his words, don't get to form coalition governments. First of all, this is the same guy who formed a coalition with the NDP and Bloc Québécois in 2004 to overthrow then Prime Minister Paul Martin. This is also the same guy who is only in power now because of two things: merging his Reform Alliance party with the Peter MacKay PC party in 2002, over the dead bodies of MacKay supporters, I might add, and being propped up by an opposition that wouldn't know a backbone if it kicked them in the ass. Second of all, Harper either doesn't understand our laws, doesn't care about them, which is more likely, or thinks that most of the public doesn't know or care, which sadly is definitely true. Since we have a parliamentary government, what voters actually do is vote for individual members so that they will collectively form a government. Harper simply leads the party that got the most seats, nothing more. So if legitimately elected MPs decide to actually work together, something that is apparently a kiss of death in Ottawa these days, then they can form a new government at any time that is totally legal and still respectful of the voters' wishes. Third of all, if one actually reads a little bit of Canadian history, they would find many examples of coalitions that formed new and stable governments, a good example being Sir Robert Borden's government during World War I. Finally, by Harper's logic, many foreign governments, despite being properly elected, are totally illegitimate. Ironically, that's including Israel's current government, which Harper supports even when it kills children, humanitarians, and Canadian soldiers. Moving on. The die-hard loyalists to both the Liberals and the NDP are proving themselves to be just as stupidly partisan as a right-wing plague that has infested Ottawa. Why do I say that? Because despite the fact that Jack Layton's NDP has never placed higher than third in any election, or that Michael Ignatieff's Liberals stand a snowball's chance in hell of forming a government on their own, both men and their handlers totally refuse to work together. And the dumbest part is, I've never heard a single good reason for this attitude. All I hear are weak excuses about the Liberals need to prepare a campaign, which they've had 4 years to do, or total delusion that Iggy or Layton will pull a rabbit out of his ass and save the day, or a lame complaint that a two-party system will be just like the US. Let me be very clear. I cannot stand dumbass traditionalism at the best of times, and these are about as dire times as Canada could possibly have, short of having a flat-out invasion or civil war. The present system is clearly not working, and things are never going to get better on their own. You'd have an easier time convincing Hamas to stop bombing people, especially since that's actually happening, strangely enough. I'll close this as simply as I can. Stephen Harper and neocons in general clearly have a really big problem with people working together at all, never mind for the greater good. Bickering amongst yourselves for leftovers is not the best way to stop him, as the Liberals and NDP have personally told me. In fact, it's doing Harper a big favor. Joining forces and throwing him out now while you got the chance is the best way to stop him. For those of you who will no doubt bitch at me that you are sick of elections, grow up and find your goddamn spines. If we leave it up to cowards like you, we'll never have an election again. Is that what you want? Even though it's supposed to be what separates us from those godless commie dictatorships? Simply put, Michael Ignatieff, Jack Layton, Canada's loyal opposition, and Canada in general, get your shit together. Enough said.